Hey, Facebook. We're going live. I've tagged a couple of people. I'm going to see if I can get them on. And of course, even if you are not tagged, doesn't mean you can't join the conversation. All right. So once you get on, I put a poll in here. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Hey to whoever's hopped on. I have a poll in here. I want to know if you can see the poll. If you can see the poll, please drop your answer or your rating in the comments so I know that you can see the poll, because I don't know that you can see the poll. But yeah, so today's conversation, the topic of discussion is emotional intelligence maturity. Okay, so if you will, whether you are well versed on emotional maturity or emotional intelligence or not, please comment, like, share this video, this live, because I feel that we need to have more of these type of discussions. I feel like we don't have enough of them, quite honestly. And not only that, many of us don't even know what emotional intelligence maturity is. All right, so, and why it's important, so yeah, if you are on the live, let me know when you get on the live, let me know whether or not you can see the poll that I created for the live. If you can, please drop your rating in the comments. Let me know that you are here. He said can't see the poll. Okay, thanks, Billy. So I got Billy Bunton in the live, guys, or I tagged Billy Bunton because he has a YouTube, he has a podcast. I'm trying to find the poll, but he has a podcast where he discusses like well-rounded topics, and I think that it's very important that we engage in these places, because again, like I said, a lot of conversations are being had. I just feel like they're being had on different platforms, and of course that means too that you need to be available for the conversation. You need to engage. So hey, Mama Ken, I believe that's Mama Ken. So I can't see names unless you comment. Just saying, I can't see names unless you comment. I can only see numbers, right? So if I don't shout you out by name, it's because I'm not familiar with your profile picture, or I just don't know that you're on the live. So if you're on the live, make sure that you drop your name in the comments or give me a high five or something in the comments so I know that you're here. Hey, Malcolm, it's good to see you. We're talking about emotional intelligence, maturity. I still haven't found where oh, there it goes. Okay. Launching the poll. All right, so I launched the poll, guys. Make sure that you drop your rating in the comments. So we're talking emotional intelligence maturity. So most of you guys are aware, and if you're not now, you are, that I wrote a book. And I launched it, or rather I published it back in February. And I speak about emotional intelligence maturity in this book, why it's so important, obviously, in the Black community. I'm a Black woman, so I'm always going to be speaking from a Black perspective. We don't really have these type of conversations. I feel like it's been very detrimental to our families, because we don't have these type of conversations, or rather we don't even have the type of knowledge to know what emotional intelligence is. So I'm going to start with a backdrop on where I feel we lost this connection. Okay, and how it's shown up in our lives. And I say this because I don't want anyone here to feel like you are inferior because you do not know what it means to be emotionally intelligent or to have emotional maturity. All right, because this is common amongst the Black community. Okay, so let's start with where our lack of knowledge, where our ignorance began. All right, for one, we are pretty much told in the Black home, whenever we are feeling emotions, like, don't worry about it, take it to the chin, chest out. We have to be strong. We have to show up, in the outside world, the outer world, the external world is going to be far more judgmental, suck it up. Okay. You cannot cry. All right. Those type of sentiments, those type of comments pretty much leave us to suppress our emotional state, right? And it's because we're not able to talk about it, and we don't have someone to talk about it with. I mean, we already know that therapy in the Black community is, you know, one of the, it's like, what? You know what I'm saying? What? You go to therapy? That means something has to be wrong. And it's quite honestly the opposite of that. You going to therapy just means that you're emotionally vulnerable, right? And you're able to express, and you're able to get these suppressed emotions out, right? And so therapy is not a bad thing, but this is just a common misconception in the Black community. And this is where it started, you know, being that we have to suppress our emotions, being that we've been dehumanized, all right? We've been dehumanized, right? We've been seen as property, possession. We've been seen as collateral. You understand what I'm saying? We've been seen at, you know, even slavery, right? We were not people. We were a fifth, a fifth of a person. So we're not supposed to have emotions. We're not supposed to feel. We're supposed to act as things. We're supposed to act as property, right? And so a lot of us still operate in this way. A lot of us still operate with this mindset that we are property and not people, that we are property and not people with feelings, human beings, right? And so emotions just means that you are human, okay? The ability to express your emotions is your human right. Okay, it is a right. It is a birthright as a human to express your emotions. But like I said, in the Black home, we've had to suppress that just based off of systematic oppression. All right, and so obviously oppression doesn't just happen in the outside world. It's not just affecting our economics. It's not just affecting our families. It's also affecting our emotional state. Okay, so when you are oppressed in every way. All right, and so emotional intelligence is one of those ways that we've been oppressed. And another thing about that is just speaking to the value of emotional intelligence. If you can break down the person emotionally, you know that it's in a sense it's you're able to enslave their mind, right? Because they don't know what they feel. They don't know who they are. They're literally living in the physical realm, right? They're only literally living in the physical realm, and you can have mind control over said person because they are not connected to their emotional state, right? Your emotions pretty much signify and make you identify what feels right and what feels wrong, what you like and what you don't like. And so if you can take that kind of information from someone or make them suppress that, then they no longer have their own guidance system to advise them what's right and what's wrong, what they like and what they don't like, strengths and weaknesses, so on and so forth. Now they can be told. Okay, so it's easier to enslave your mind if I can suppress your emotional state. All right, so I'm saying all of this and just giving you guys this backdrop because it's important for you to understand that it doesn't make you inferior, that you're not well versed in emotional intelligence. You're not inferior because you don't even know what that is. One of the people commented under the post, you know, this is the wrong platform for this topic because most people aren't emotionally intelligent, right? And my thing was, and my statement literally was, you know, well, if that's the case, then even better, because I feel that we should be teaching, right? What good does it do to go to a room where they already know all these things? Okay, it's like, then what are you adding value? How are you adding value? Okay, so don't be afraid or again feel inferior if on the poll, as I mentioned, it says to rate your emotional intelligence between 1 to 10. You know, don't be insecure if your emotional intelligence, maturity, or even knowledge thereof is a 0. That's perfectly fine. That's what we're here to do today. That's what we're here to talk about today. So aside from backdrop, aside from back story of like where that ball was dropped in our community, I want to now speak about how it shows up in our life and exactly what emotional intelligence is, right? Or even how it links to emotional availability. So as I mentioned, starting with emotional intelligence and what it is. It's your ability to explore your emotional state and identify what you are feeling. Okay. And I say identify, but the word I would like to use instead of identify is observe. Because the moment we identify with something, we kind of grab hold of it, okay, and we make it our own. It becomes an identity, right? So it's easier to make it an identity when we quote unquote identify instead of observe. And when you make it an identity, it's literally like you're putting on a costume. You understand? So let's use this analogy. Say that your emotions is like a closet, okay, and you have a lot of clothes in your closet, all right. And so this outfit is sadness, and this outfit is mad, and this outfit is joy, and this outfit is happy, and so on and so forth. When you identify with an emotion, you literally go and put that outfit on, and so it becomes you, right? And so that's why, again, we'd rather observe our outfits in our closet rather than to take them on, right? And if you can take them and put them on, it's important to know how to take them off, right? You don't keep clothes on forever. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sweating. It's hot outside. Y'all know I'm in Texas. So, you don't put on an outfit and wear it forever. You understand what I'm saying? You change your clothes. So your emotions are the same way. You're going to change your emotions. They're going to change. They will pass. It's just a frequency. It's just a vibration. That's all your emotion is. It's energy in motion. And so that's the reason why you want to observe it, because it is constantly flowing. It's not meant to be an outfit, quite honestly, right? You know, I call emotions like, they're like women. They just want to be seen. That's it. They just want to be seen. All right. They don't care to be kept. Okay. So you got to look at it that way, because if not, like I said, you'll want to put those emotions on, and the more emotions you put on, you suppress them. Okay. You're like stacking emotions, and they start to weigh you down. And that's when you can experience depression, mental health issues, things like that. So, just using that analogy, emotions are like outfits in your closet, and you change your clothes daily. Sometimes if you are in Houston, Texas, or in Texas in general, you might change your clothes more than one time a day because it'd be hot as hell, okay? And you sweat, okay? And so you might change your clothes more than one time a day. So just think of it that way. You want to observe the emotion rather than to become the emotion. Don't put on the outfit and wear it forever. Okay, so that's what emotional intelligence is, right? The ability to perceive your emotional state and say identify the emotion without making it your identity. Okay, and your maturity level. So the emotional maturity aspect of this is how you react versus respond to said emotion. Okay, so a lot of times, because we don't have self-control, and not just because we don't have self-control, but because we don't know how to take a moment to observe, we are very reactive. So because we feel something, we react on that emotion. We don't give it time to settle. We don't give ourselves time to explore what we're feeling and to make rational decisions. And so there's a difference between reacting and responding, right? And response just means that you take time. You really have an opportunity to look at the broader picture. You don't rush in and say, this is what I'm feeling right now, and this is how I'm going to handle it. And we know often that being very reactive tends to result in, you know, mismanaged, right? Mismanaged situations. We tend to do things that we regret, right? And it's, again, making permanent decisions off of temporary emotions, right? Those emotions it's just temporary. I hate to use this video as an example, but it's kind of relevant. It's, you know, happening right now. It's very current. I'm more than sure many of you guys have seen the video of the young man and the mom in the restaurant, and he literally abuses her in front of everyone and her son. And I believe right now, you know, they're being charged with first-degree murder, so on and so forth, because the son came back and retaliated and killed that man for hitting his mother. I'm more than sure many of you guys have seen this video or are aware of it. So the first thing that comes to mind when I seen the video or even heard of the situation was that was a great representation of lack of emotional maturity, right? Because obviously, and even emotional intelligence, right? We can really stir up the moment just because we're ignorant of how to handle situations, and we lack self-control and discipline. We don't know how to separate ourselves from the situation or the incident. We immediately react. You know, we immediately go based off of what we feel. Right now, I'm mad. You understand what I'm saying? And I just want to express that. I'm going to lash out. So that's reactive. It's not responding. You know, if you notice that those situations happen very quickly, right? There's no time for observation. It's just go, 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 go. One thing leads to the next thing, leads to the next thing, leads to the next thing. And now here you have 3 people, you know, who, I'm going to be honest with you, all of them are victims. That's the way I see it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to pinpoint right or wrong or any of that, because I just see our culture, I see our community as the victim in that situation, because of the lack of emotional maturity, because of the lack of emotional intelligence and the ability to deal with what we're feeling in the moment and learning self-control, right? So that's a perfect example, although I hate it has to be an example of lack of emotional intelligence maturity, right? I'm not going to judge about how it should have been handled, but I am very aware that if there could have been a backstory, or they had a background in emotional intelligence, and just like knowing what they're feeling in that moment and knowing if it's worth it. So the response versus reaction, right? Reactive versus responding. When you're reactive, you don't take time to observe the consequences for what you're doing. You're just going. Okay, your emotions are driving the car. Literally, your emotions are driving the car, and so you're not able to make rational decisions, right? Because one thing that emotions do is they blur our vision. Okay, they blur our vision, and we're not able to see clearly, right? And so anything that you do off of your emotions is going to be erratic. Okay, it's going to be, like I said, illogical, because you haven't taken an opportunity or taken the time to really observe. Hello, Patricia. You haven't really observed or thought of the consequences of what you're doing, what the possible outcomes of what you could be doing, right? For you to say, okay, well, that's not the right way to handle this, and this isn't the right way to handle this. This could be the better way to handle this. You're just acting off of emotion, and that's how we go into situations blindly, okay? And you lack discernment, right? So that situation, like I said, although I hate that it is the example that I'm giving, it is quite honestly the most perfect example of lack of emotional intelligence maturity, because you can only imagine. I mean, the place that this happened in was in Chicago. So, you know, I ain't trying to be funny or anything like that, but they do have a high crime rate. So it's like, you know, black people there, where there's crime, where there's violence, there you gotta know that there's a lack of emotional intelligence maturity. You gotta know that people are being driven by their emotional state And you gotta know that that's the reason why they're going out and they're taking that anger, and they're where it's been suppressed for where it really should be utilized and how it can be utilized. Instead, they're using it outwardly, and they go out and, you know, like I said, there's crime, there's violence, because they're holding on to all these emotions. And so that's, again, what it is to have emotional intelligence, and to have emotional maturity. Now, I want to speak about how this affects our emotional availability, right? And how that affects our relationships. When we are not emotional available, and I did a reel about this because I actually I did a whole little live about it and I turned it into a reel, but I did a video about emotional availability and how it shows up in our relationships. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into that and say, like, what emotional availability truly is, and how it ties to your emotional intelligence. So when you are able to perceive your own emotions and you really take time with yourself, that is true intimacy, right? I'm going to get a little bit, it's still tying in to the conversation, but I want to show you how this also turns into this kind of a spider situation, like this web of a situation. Your emotions are a part of your sensuality. Okay, the season that we're in right now, summertime especially, but it's specifically this season right now, we are in a sensual season. Okay, and so a lot of times when we think about sensuality, we think about sexuality, and when we think about sexuality, we think about sex, right? But sensuality truly means your senses. It means being in tune with your senses. It means that is your true intimacy, to be aware of all of your senses, versus the perverted aspect of sensuality that means that you are more, you know, sexual. All right. When you are more sensual, meaning having the ability to perceive your sensuality, use your nose, your eyes, your hands, you know, your taste, your feelings, okay, things of that nature, you do have the ability to create. All right, so how sensuality plays into creation, just the same as sexuality plays into creation as well. The only thing about that is when we're not truly aware of our senses, okay, we become more sexual instead, right? And that's when it, you know, that, like I said, that sensual turns into a lot of sex, right? And we confuse that with intimacy. And not realizing that the intimacy that we're truly craving is that sensuality. It's the ability to be, these terms might be sexual, but that's because they are sensual, right? It's your ability to be turned on by what you see. It's your ability to be turned on by what you taste, what you smell, what you feel, okay? And to be turned on literally means to be activated, right? And so these same terms, right, these same concepts, we utilize them in a sexual way, right? We think about being turned on and we think about how our reproductive organs are standing up and gushing out. You get what I'm saying? And it's not to say that these things aren't a part of that, but it's to say that that doesn't happen first. That shouldn't be our first sensuality, okay? That shouldn't be our first intimacy, okay? Your sensuality literally is being able to be turned on, like I said, by your five senses, and for those of you who have a sixth sense, by your sixth sense as well, right? So that leads to sexuality. That leads to the ability to create, right? And that creating means in all dimensions, right? Not just babies. A lot of you are meant to create businesses. You're meant to create new ventures in the world, new ideas. You know, like there are downloads just waiting for you to be sensual, but because you'll use that energy perversely and go out and use it, like I said, you're turned on and you just want to have sex. You know what I'm saying? It's like sex with anybody now. It's like we don't understand how you're extending your sexual energy outwardly instead of internally for you to experience like awakenings, and when I say awakenings, those awakenings do lead to downloads and creative ideas, right? Epiphanies. It leads to breaking through barriers, mental barriers. It leads to freedom, quite honestly. That's the best way for me to put it, is freedom. A lot of the oppression that we experience, like I was saying earlier, that emotional oppression is very relevant to your lack of sensuality, and how then we become, like I said, more sexual. And as long as we're more sexual, we'll create more babies, but we don't create businesses. We aren't open enough for our heart's desires. We're not open enough to be in business, to be able to step away from the system that is oppressing us. We're not able to have that true freedom, right? And it's not because it's not available to us. It's because we've used the energy perversely, right? And so perverse just means backwards, right? It's like wanting to put the cart before the wheel. Right? Is that the way we say it? The cart before the wheel? Wanting to put the cart before the wheel, right? And so this is how that emotional intelligence starts to trickle down, and how it affects us in other ways, okay? You have this perverted idea about emotional intelligence, right? And there goes our partnerships. So now we're talking about how it affects our partnerships. Now we're only able to connect with other people on a surface level. Now it's strictly about what we can do for each other in the physical world. People are afraid to speak about their emotions. People are afraid to show them their true selves. And it's not that they don't crave that. It's that they are afraid to share that because it's been suppressed for so long, right? Because they've been judged for being a human. You understand? So now you no longer feel like you can be a human. Now you play as a robot, right? And it even makes me think about this, during slavery, how, we were, I would say, encouraged to have more babies, because more babies meant more slaves, right? So when you think about it that way, how that oppression literally, not saying that children are not a blessing, not saying that we shouldn't be having children. I'm not saying that, because God does tell us to go multiply and be fruitful, and that he does mean people, right? But even in that being multiplying and being fruitful, we have to understand responsibility. We have to understand the foundation that we're laying for these children, what we're bringing them into, our moral standards, our core values. So if you don't have core values, if you don't have moral standards, now you're just having a lot of kids. You understand what I'm saying? And so our homes tend to have a lack of moral standards. They tend to have a lack of core values, but we're steady having babies, right? So again, it's nothing wrong with us being, mothers and fathers. There's nothing wrong with us having children, but you do want to have children and have a foundation and a rock, right? A system where they don't feel oppressed in their homes, right? You want to have this self-worth. You want to be able to instill these core values into your children. You don't want to just be having kids. Okay, so again, it plays out in our partnerships. We start having these surface level relationships. Nobody wants you to get close to them. They don't know how to get close to you. The minute that they start getting close to you, they may run. Okay, you start entering into these chaser runner type relationships where, men, you might feel thrilled by being the chase, and the woman might feel thrilled by being the runner, meaning she's okay with being in competition with other women for you. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of it being divine and aligned relationships, or vice versa. These women can feel like, I'd rather be chased, and these men are like, because I know all these other men are after this woman, I want her too, because he wants to be competitive with the homies about who can get her. She's a challenge, right? It's like we totally miss the dynamic of ordained and divinely orchestrated relationships and alignment, right? Because you're not going to have to chase what's meant for you. If you're chasing it, more than likely it's running from you. That's the only way that you could be chasing it. So why would you want anything that's running from you, right? Why do you want anything that's going to put you in a space of, say, competition and make you feel insecure? Why would you want that? You know, we have these distorted concepts about relationships when our emotional intelligence maturity is off, because we don't understand that what's really going to draw our person to us is those standards and boundaries, right? Because we don't even know what standards and boundaries are. You understand? So, you know, that is what emotional intelligence maturity is. If I had to sum it up in 2 words, it's going to be your standards and your boundaries. And a lot of people lack that, right? And a lot of that, it goes back to, like I said, abandonment. You'll feel like you're constantly being rejected. You'll feel like, you know, people don't like me, or, you know, I can never have what I want in life, or whatever. You suffer with rejection, the spirit of rejection, and really that comes from abandonment. And what I mean is not just the external world that's quote unquote abandoning you, but you are abandoning you. And by that I mean you don't listen to yourself. You don't listen to your emotions. You're not there for your own spirit. You're not there for your own soul. You're not there for your own mental health. You're not there for your own heart, but yet you're overgiving. So I posted or I reposted something that I posted like a few years ago, and I just kind of expanded on that. This is for those overgivers, because this is when we become overgivers. We continually exhort our energy outwardly instead of pouring into ourselves and letting our cup overflow and giving away the overflow, right? Like when you're giving from that cup, and your cup, you can never fill your cup, right? But you're steady pouring out. You understand what I'm saying? It's like I said it in the post, you're giving on a loan, right? And you're going to need that back, because then quite honestly, you don't really have it to give. But you give because you feel that by your saying yes to people and yes to things, that you'll be loved, that people will take notice of you, that you'll be accepted, right? That you'll be valued by what you give. Okay, but in all actuality, you don't really have that to give, because you need to be giving that to yourself. You need to be validating yourself. You need to be, you know, confirming and reassuring yourself of your own self-worth. You need to be pouring love and cheering for yourself. You need to be celebrating yourself. You need to be doing all those things for yourself instead of waiting for other people to do it for you. Because if you constantly rely on others to do that for you, the minute that they no longer do that for you, you can't show up in the world. So how solid are you really then, right? You're not able to show up as yourself authentically in the world. And now you're deprived, and not just because others aren't giving to you, but because you never were giving to you. Instead, you were giving to others. It's this constant exchange, but both of you are in a loan system. It's not even your energy. It's not even your quote unquote money, your currency to be giving, right? You need it for yourself, right? So then you start forming these codependent relationships. Like I said, the minute that someone doesn't give you that validation, the minute that someone doesn't show up for you in the way that you need them to show up, you start feeling like, well, they're abandoning me. No, you abandoned you. You know, no one is responsible for you. No one owes you anything, right? And so when you start to fall in that they owe me because I gave, quote unquote, it's like you start getting resentful and bitter because you feel like you do all this for other people and people don't reciprocate it. In all actuality, you lack boundaries. You lack standards. Okay. And in your giving, it was more about acceptance rather than in genuine giving. It was more about how they'll value you, how they'll love you based on what you're doing for them. Because if it was really about giving from your heart, the thing about giving from your heart is that there is no expectation. You're not waiting on someone you're not counting the cost. You're not counting on, oh, well, I gave, this favor, that favor. You're not counting the favors because it's charity. You're giving from a grateful heart because you understand that God is your provider and he's constantly going to refill your cup. But if you don't have that awareness, if you don't have that true giving heart, if you're not a cheerful giver, you're counting every dollar, every emotion, every energy, every encounter, every good word, every encouragement. You're counting that for all the people and oh, they're indebted to me. They wouldn't have this if it wasn't for me. And when I need this, then nobody's there for me. Wait a minute, hold on. You need to be there for you, right? So the reason why emotional intelligence maturity can truly say get you kind of hey Shantae, it'll really, that's my god sister, y'all. It'll really mess you up because you'll become more independent, quote unquote, which is what you want to be anyways, right? A lot of us fear independence because it means that we have to stand on our own 2 feet. You become self-sufficient, okay? And then your self-sufficiency is your wholeness. But if you are constantly, like I said, waiting on other people to validate you, you're only giving so you can receive. I'm giving because when I need it back. You understand? No, you never really had it to give it. Because if you had it to give, then if they didn't give it back, your cup runneth over. You're giving from the excess. You're not going to go without because of what you gave. If you're going to go without, then don't give it, right? That's your ability to say no boundary. You understand what I'm saying? No is the boundary. I don't have this to give. And so we feel bad for saying no. We feel bad for putting up a boundary, putting up a wall. You understand? Because we've been made in this way where we're constantly supposed to be given. You understand? This is that ancestral trauma. These are these generational curses that we should be breaking, right? So because our ancestors couldn't say no, we don't know how to say no. You're still living with the mentality from 400 years ago, 87 years ago, 70 years ago. You're still living from that perspective. And here we are in 2023. You understand what I'm saying? So you're literally living in history. You're not making any new patterns, any new thought patterns, any new traditions, right? You're not living for yourself. All right. You're not living in the present moment. There's no way you could be living in the present moment because your ideologies, your thought patterns are from decades and centuries ago. All right. So that ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. It'd be self-sabotage for me to do that. That's the way you have to start looking at it. Like, I'm not going to put myself on my knife. I'm not going to be a martyr to save someone else because that someone else has to learn to save themselves. It's not me loving them if I'm going to enable them. Okay? And so, hey, Nasharia, the spirit of Jezebel is an enabler. Hello to all that are on. If you can, please share this message. We're talking about emotional intelligence maturity, how it's affecting our community, how it's affecting our relationships, right? Obviously, I use the analogy or the example of the Chicago shooting with the mother, son, and stranger. All right, so if you will, please share this message. I definitely feel that it's something we need to be speaking about because our lack of emotional intelligence maturity is truly affecting and has been affecting how we show up in the world and our unity, okay? How we show up as a unit, how we show up as a community, right? And so even the crab in a bucket mentality, that I need them to validate me. I need them to, whatever I gave, I need that back because you never really had it to give. That's a crab in a bucket mentality. You understand what I'm saying? No one, it's like wanting to stand on other people's shoulders, and the minute that it don't work how you want, you gonna pull them down. It don't work how you want it to work, so you're pulling them down. Right? It's like, no, that's not the way we should be treating each other. You know what I'm saying? That's not the way we should be treating each other. And absolutely, I said that at the beginning of the live, you know what I mean? The therapy aspect of it, how, you say in the Black community, I'm going to therapy and it's taboo. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, no, you need to be going to therapy. And obviously I have one-on-one sessions available. Quick plug. I have one-on-one sessions available if you guys want to have therapy sessions. If you want to start really giving and diving into your emotional intelligence and learning what this is, you can definitely book with me. The link is in my bio, but I'll post it on my page. But yeah, therapy is necessary because for so long we've not been made comfortable to feel. We've been dehumanized. Right? We've had to prove to people that we're humans. You understand what I'm saying? We've had to show up in places as savior, as martyr, so we couldn't do that for ourselves. You know what I mean? Y'all get what I'm saying? Am I making sense to you guys? Am I making sense? I am a child of God. So no, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a child of God. I don't resonate with that. I don't resonate with that anymore. I feel that I feel like those prototypes are for our lower nature. I feel like they're identities, and I don't put that one on anymore. You understand what I'm saying? I don't put that one on anymore. I don't go to my closet and say, I'm gonna put on Libra today. I don't do that anymore. I'm a child of God, and that makes me vast. It makes me omnipotent. It makes me omnipresent. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like the zodiac signs make us limited. You know what I mean? It's like, it says, it puts me in this box, and I can't be put in a box. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So anyways, I'm a child of God. That means that God is me. God is me. And if that's an identity, that is my identity. So yeah, I was just saying that those emotional intelligence, maturity, concepts, we're missing it, and we do need therapy. We do need to sit on somebody's couch, bro. We do need to talk. We need to speak on it. We need to be able to express, because we've suppressed it for so long. We've been oppressed for so long, where, like I said, we've been dehumanized. We've not been able to express, and we've not been able to show up human in the world. And that's just, that's why we're treated the way we're treated, right? That's the reason why we're not expected to feel. And obviously, anytime that we do feel, it's irrational and illogical, and we're reactive. You understand what I'm saying? It's like they expect that. And that obviously, too, think about this. Reactive is very animalistic, right? When we're very reactive, it's very animalistic, okay? What makes us different than animals is that we can think. Right? Animals can have sex. They can create. You understand what I'm saying? They can fight. Right? They can kill. Right? That's animal instinct. That's animalistic. But we are different. We are in the hierarchy. We are above the animal. And yet we act in these animalistic ways. Right? And it's because, like I said, we've been dehumanized. We're not able to express. We're not able to feel. We're not supposed to, according to the system. And so the minute that you do start to express it, like I said, it becomes very reactive, because you don't know how to handle your emotions. You don't know how to speak on your emotions. A lot of times you don't even know how to identify what you're feeling, right? So I always tell my clients, listen, the best thing you can do for yourself, and someone shared this, or I've seen it on a TikTok or somewhere, where they said men have journals and women have diaries, right? So I always tell my clients to journal their emotions. And you might not have the words for it. Excuse me. You may not have the words for it. Hello, Anthony. You may not have the words for it, but just start writing. And you'd be surprised at how much better you feel after you write whatever you think. Okay, think of it that way. I'm not writing what I feel. I'm writing what I'm thinking. Just start writing what you're thinking. And if you don't have the ability to write it, if you have an iPhone, or if you have any phone, you can use your voice memos. Just start expressing, because what you're doing, and I'm going to go into the chakra system here, guys. Your throat chakra is blocked, right? So when you're not able to express yourself. All right. Now, and here's the thing about this, guys. A lot of times, I speak about God. I have a very intimate relationship with God. I love Jesus. You understand what I'm saying? And I advocate for Christ consciousness, right? So I'm going to say this real quick before any of you Bible thumping Christians get on this and live and speak on the fact that I speak on chakras. You understand what I'm saying? First and foremost, that's the revelation God gave to me for me. And I express this and share this in my book. All right. It's very true that data is stored in our chakra system, and this data is the DNA of our ancestors, and this is where our trauma is trapped, right? So our inability to speak, that is in that said throat chakra back, and that's because your DNA, that data from your ancestors, where they haven't been able to speak, where they have been suppressed and oppressed, and their voices haven't mattered, did not matter. It's been blocked here. So it's no surprise that you're not able to express. You understand what I'm saying? It's no surprise. So the only way to unblock these chakras is to start doing the opposite of what you've been doing. If you've been silent, if you've been suppressing, then it's time for you to start expressing. It's time for you to start speaking, right? So like I said, whether you're journaling or whether you're doing voice memos, you need to be expressing, all right? And you don't need anybody to do that with. You don't need another person to listen to you. Now, I'm not saying it's not good to have someone listen to you, but I am saying don't let it stop you if you don't have someone to listen to you. You want to start with yourself. That's your emotional intelligence. That's your intimacy. The only way that you're going to be able to ever truly listen to another person, hello, Christy, the only way that you're ever going to truly be able to listen to another person and to have compassion for another person is by listening to yourself and understanding your own emotions. Right? A lot of times we hear people talk about stuff they're going through, so on and so forth, and we judge. Why do we judge? Because we don't know how to have compassion. Hello, Jermaine. Why don't we know how to have compassion? Well, because we don't have compassion for ourselves. We don't even listen to ourselves. We don't even give ourselves grace. Hey, Kanitra, that's my auntie, y'all. We don't even give ourselves grace. We don't even allow ourselves to feel. So when someone else says, I'm going through this or I'm feeling this, we're like, oh my God, they must be this. Or we're so quick to identify or judge. And it's because you judge yourself. You judge how, if you feel a certain way, you feel like you're weak. You understand what I'm saying? Oh my God, I feel sad today. I feel so weak. Oh my God, today I feel so insecure. Oh my God, that means I'm ugly. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, no, we're human. You're going to have insecurities. And even the best of them have insecurities. And anybody who says they don't have insecurities, they a liar. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. All right. So understanding you're going to have insecurities. You're going to have days where you feel sad. You're going to have days where you need reassurance. You're going to have those kind of days. You're going to have days where you want to do less. It doesn't make you lazy. It's your ability to have understanding of your capacity. A lot of times that's another thing, right? When we're constantly saying yes, 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 you don't even realize that you don't have the capacity to do that. Why not? Because you're not emotionally available and emotionally vulnerable to yourself. With yourself. You're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to your body. You're not listening to your mind. You're not listening to your heart. You're not listening to your gut. You're not listening, right? And so you'll still say yes to things and people in these situations because you want them to accept you. You want them to love you. You want them to see your value. But then when you're not valuable because you ain't got no more to give, okay? Because you done gave everything you had and you really didn't have it to give, okay? Right? You're judging yourself. Oh my God, I'm so lazy. Oh my God, I don't want to do anything today. Then I'm so unproductive. Oh my God, I'm worthless. I'm valueless. You understand? It's like, listen to that. We'll literally feel that way. In all actuality, it just means that you didn't understand your capacity. Today, baby girl, I ain't got it to give. Whether it's a hello, whether it's a response to a comment, whatever the case may be, the smallest thing. Today, I may not be able to tell you, good job. I might need that for myself. Today, I may not be able to, do this for you and make and validate your existence. I may need to do that for myself. And if me doing that for myself offends you, it shows me you. You get what I'm saying? Because you would think that the people that love you want you to love yourself. You would think that the people that love you want you to take care of yourself. Right? Because the minute that you can't take care of yourself and you are now needing them to help you in some capacity, they're going to talk about you. Now she needs this. He always needs something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Okay. So it's like, no. When you start being able to say no, you understand? Then you're able to only act and respond. You'll allow yourself to be more responsive rather than reactive. So this is where I'm going to talk to my people pleasers, because that's really what it is. Exactly. Sometimes you just need to reset and start over. Exactly. And let me also say that there's no limit to that. You understand what I'm saying? If you need to do that 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times a week, then you need to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. As many times as you need to get to where your cup is full. There's no limit. You shouldn't have a limit for yourself. You shouldn't have a limit for yourself. And you shouldn't let people make you feel bad when you're not able to show up for them because you're showing up for yourself. If they're mad, they don't love you. If they mad, they don't really care about you. You understand what I'm saying? They're more concerned with what you do for them. That's the way they validate their love from you. Okay? And I want you to understand that even then, that's not something for you to take personal, because that's the way they are with themselves. If they're not doing, this is for the overgivers, because the overgivers are the people pleasers. If they're not doing, giving, they don't feel valued. They don't see the value within themselves. You understand? So if anything, those same people, you got to pray for them. Hey, Kay, you got to pray for them. Just like you got to pray for yourself. You know? So understanding that when you do have that emotional intelligence and you're mature and you're responsive rather than reactive, and you really give yourself an opportunity to be in tune with yourself, you start listening to your intuition instead of abandoning your intuition, because that's where your abandonment wounds start, right? Because 9 times out of 10, whenever you listen to your intuition gonna tell you what you should be doing, who you should be doing it for. But when you're not listening to that, you're abandoning your intuition, and then you're wondering why those people that your intuition was telling you shouldn't be doing it for ain't treating you right. You understand? They didn't do it to you. You did it to you. Your abandonment wounds start with you, right? Being able to listen to your soul system, your navigation system. That's exactly what your intuition is. It's your navigation system. It tells you who's who and what's what, where to go, when to go. You understand? So when you're not listening to that, that is your abandonment. And then people can only treat you how you treat yourself. Okay? So that's now this breakdown of our relationships. We don't feel like we can trust each other. Well, why? Because you're not trusting yourself. You literally tell your intuition when you're not listening to it, I'm not trusting you. I can't trust you. So you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, then how do you expect other people to trust you too? When you say yes to things that you really should be saying no to, and now people are like, she don't keep her word. He don't keep her word. It's because in all actuality, their intuition was telling them to say no, but they said yes. You understand? So of course they can't trust you because you don't listen to yourself to trust yourself. Then more breakdown, more distrust in our community, more unworthiness in our community, right? Now there's more codependency in our community, right? Because we don't know how to say no, because we overgive, right? Because we don't have self-worth and self-value, because we don't validate our own existence, right? Sometimes you're going to have to tell yourself, I got your back, bro. Sometimes you're going to have to tell yourself, like, me and God, it's just me and God right now. And don't be mad about it. And anybody that is mad about it and sees you as say, a threat or a target and to gossip about or to judge, or they feel like you acting funny or whatever, like, you got to understand, man, God will reveal. In those times, God is revealing to you your people. And God is revealing to you how they really feel. And even then, hey, Vanessa, it's not for you to take offense to. Don't take it personally. Okay? Don't take it personally. We do not fight flesh and blood. We are not fighting flesh and blood, sweetheart. We are fighting dark powers and principalities. We are fighting the demons that are inhibiting that space. That's territory. All right? They have territory there. And so what's the best way for you to gain back God's territory? Hello, Dwayne. Pray for them. You got to pray for them. You got to show up how God wants you to show up. So you start to be an example, and you be not conformed to this world, right? But this world start to see you as the example. Hello, Linda. Hello. That's my love. They start to see you, and they start wanting to, I won't say imitate you, but they start seeing a different way to live. Now you are the example. You don't be like them. Don't be like the people who hurt you. You don't be like them. You don't turn into them. What good is that? Right? So even when he revealing it, it's not for you to take it personally, because if you're easily offended, then anybody can manipulate your emotions. You have no control over your emotions. You have no control. And if you have no control over your emotions, like I said, and your emotions are constantly driving the car, then whoever can say provoke you, now they can have fun with you. You're easily manipulated. Easily manipulated, right? You're a shell of yourself. And so you can obviously see the agenda, like, you can obviously see the agenda, right? Because if you lack these things, like I said, if you lack emotional intelligence and maturity, then you can just see the string, the web that it creates. How other people don't have to destroy our community. We will destroy it ourselves. We don't have to wait for other people to come in and break up our families. We'll do it ourselves. We don't have to wait for the government to do such and such, because we're doing it ourselves. And it all started because they suppressed our emotional state. And they turned us into slaves, bodies. No mind, no heart, just bodies. You're just a body. Right? And think of that like factory work. That means that you're just a body in a factory doing the work. You understand what I'm saying? You're not meant to have emotions. You're not meant to feel. You're not meant to love. You're not meant to celebrate. You're not meant to be happy. You're not meant to do any of these things. This is why us as black people, any opportunity that we get to celebrate, we celebrating, because in all actuality, we just want to feel. We just want to feel. We just want to be in our emotions. You understand? And so it's nothing wrong with us celebrating, but we got to understand, like, in all actuality, sweetheart, you can celebrate every day. Every day you wake up with an emotion, and it should be gratitude. A gratitude for a new day, gratitude for breath, gratitude for life, a new opportunity, gratitude for the body, gratitude for your heart, gratitude for your mind. Because as long as you have a mind, you have an opportunity to change it. As long as you have breath, you have options. As long as you are living, you can change. You can change the narrative. You can change your mind. You can change your heart. You can repent. That's what it means to repent. To change your mind, change your heart. You can repent. Every day you have the ability to confess your sins. Every day. And what it means when I say confess your sins is that emotional state. I'm feeling this. If you don't like how you're feeling, then please forgive me for feeling this way. I love you and thank you. Right? So just how you can start celebrating yourself every day. Don't wait for holidays to celebrate yourself. Don't wait for, external measures to celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself every day. Celebrate yourself every day. When we learn how to take more breaths, when we learn, and what I mean when I say breaths, because quite honestly, everybody, it's like a no-brainer. While I'm living, that means I'm breathing. Okay, well, let's break that down real quick. There's a proper way to breathe. Okay? When you are living more robotically, when I say you're just a body, that's more robotically. You're on autopilot. Literally, you're on autopilot. You wake up every day, you do the same thing every day. Nothing different. And if there is something different, you're crazy about it. You're like, oh my God, today there was this difference. It's like maybe God needed to shake you up real quick and say, hey, you're not a robot. You're a person. You're a human being. And there's life to be lived through you and expressed through you. So today I'm going to shake it up for you. Okay? So those of us who do live on autopilot, we don't take proper breaths. Okay? That breath you take, it's like, you don't even realize that you're breathing. And that in itself should be a reason to be grateful. Because your body is doing something for you that you didn't even have to do for yourself. Okay? But let me talk to you guys about the proper breath. Okay? Because one of the reasons why you want to start to take proper breaths, I'll explain it to you first, and then I'll show you how to do the proper breath. One of the reasons why you want to take proper breaths is because through your breath is life. Breath and breath, there's life. And the deeper your breath, the more life force, okay? The more life force, it's called prana, P-R-A-N-A. The more life force you take into the body. And what this life force does is it feeds the spirit, right? And so the bigger the breath, quite honestly, the greater the spirit, okay? When you take little breaths, which is what the body does for you automatically, your spiritual expansion is blah. You're not connected to the spirit, okay? So you want to start to take deeper breaths, all right? So now let's get into prana, all right, which is breath work, which is a form of meditation, all right? I've given you two, quite honestly. I've given you three. One form of meditation is journaling, all right? And you can journal, like I said, writing. You can audio, right? Audio journal. You can go to therapy. That's another form of meditation. Another form is prana, which is breath work. All right. And this breath work is going to help to, like I said, expand your inner world, which is your spirit body. All right. And it's called prana, P-R-A-N-A. And then another form of meditation is movement. All right. Movement. And so that's why exercise is important, because it helps to move the energy in your body, okay? And it also helps with blood flow, which we also know is life, right? Just the same way as oxygen helps with blood flow, right? So all these things are helping to enrich the blood flow, enrich your life force, okay? So now let's get into how we do proper breath, so we can wake up our spiritual body. Okay, I'm gonna lift my shirt because it's the only way I feel that you guys can see how to properly do this. All right. Stay with me, guys. Okay, so I use a simple breath work practice, okay, and it's called box breathing. Box, B-O-X, breathing, okay? And it's a 4 count. We do three counts of 4 counts. That first count, well, before we even get into the counts, I want us to completely let out or release all the air in your belly. Okay, so sideways, y'all see that? When you release all the breath in your belly, your navel should be trying to touch your spine. Okay? The way you know that you've been improperly breathing is that when you take an inhale, your belly button is contracting. And when you take an exhale, your belly button is expanding. That's not right. Your inhale means your belly should be expansion. And for your exhale, your belly should be contracting. So for us to release the breath, we contract. And it's literally holding your belly button in. So all the way, 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 right? So y'all see that? All the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. Okay. Now for our inhale, I want us to count to 4. So you breathe in, count to 4 in your mind. Okay. So starting now, if you're doing this with me. So we're all the way. Now inhale. At that top, you're going to feel a restriction. When you get to that 4 count, you're going to feel a restriction at the top of your throat. I want you to hold that breath. So your stomach stays out. You hold that breath. Feel that constriction for 4 seconds, 4 count. Now exhale, 4 count. Okay. You do that repeatedly, okay? And what it does is starts to create an oceanic rhythm with your breath. And what you're doing is slowing down your breathing pattern, okay? This helps us to slow down. This helps us to be more responsive and less reactive, okay? This helps us to be more patient, okay? This helps us to be more observant. All right. And so this is another form of meditation. And like I said, it's called box breathing. It's just one form, because there are so many different ways to do breath work. But this is one. It's very easy, which is the main reason why I use this for performative reasons. It's very easy for you to pick up on, and you can do this in your car in the morning, which I definitely recommend doing it first things in the morning, so you can slow yourself down. A lot of us, the minute that we get up, we're jumping, we're, running to do whatever we need to do. We don't take time. We don't give ourselves time in the morning, and then we wonder why our day is just, we're just flying through the day. Well, you set the tone for your day when you wake up. So try to slow your mornings down. And so starting with prana or box breathing, that method will definitely help you. So again, it's a 4 count 3 times, and you inhale or exhale first, right? Get all the breath out of your belly. So your inhale is a 4 count. Your stomach should expand. When you are at the 4 count, you hold it. You'll feel a contraction in the back of your throat. So hold it for 4. And your exhale, you'll do the same thing. You'll release for 4. And that means that your stomach goes, you're contracting. So your stomach goes in, navel to spine. All right. And so do that at least, I'd say, 5 times in the morning. Okay, so you can literally start to regulate your nervous system, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're starting to regulate your nervous system. Okay, so I hope that, and this has been so much information, but I hope that it helped you guys. I hope that it shed light on emotional intelligence, also maturity, how we can learn to respond versus react, how it also shows up in, our relationships, how we people please because of it, how we overgive because of it, and just ways that you can start to dial down on that, right? And start to reverse those patterns that are not serving you. So if this was helpful, like, share, comment. Today, a lot of what we spoke out of was the sacral chakra and your throat chakra. And so you guys already know I mentioned it at the beginning. I wrote a book. I actually go through these practices in my book. So you can find the sacral, you can find the throat, you can find all of them actually. So I'll show you here just a table of contents, how we go through each chakra, how there's a workshop in each chakra. Like I mentioned as well, you can find the link in my bio. For you Bible thumpers, you totally religious Christian people, don't come for me about no chakras and New Age spirituality. Me and God have already had this conviction, and God has already revealed what he needs to reveal to me about it. And so just go ahead and if you want to learn something, then be present. If you don't, scroll on, okay? But other than that, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for sharing time with me today, sharing space with me. I hope this was helpful. Make sure that you share. And if you want any of those products, like I said, you can definitely look in the link in my bio for the book. If you want to schedule one-on-one sessions, the link is in my bio, but I'll post it on my page. And yeah, so share, and share again. All right. I love you guys. Peace.